true psychopath. When you're lost, take your trust. That's me.
That's so sick.
I'm a fraud, call me a liar.
A true psycho.
Woo! I'm a fraud, call me a liar. A true psychopath, don't love me. When you're lost, take your trust. Yeah, that's me. Oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. Yes, I'm a fraud. Call me a liar. A true psychopath.
Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, you guys. So nice to have all of you guys here. And let me just say this. I do intend at some point to talk about this Koberger situation, but I'm probably going to wait for a while to do it. It's real chaotic right now. And I think that for me personally, understanding the filings and then the answers when like the defense makes a motion and the state replies, or the state makes a motion and the defense replies, those are what I like to read. And those are what I find interesting, but that's not everybody's cup of tea. And also I have to say, I'm not an attorney, right? Like I don't have a Juris Doctorate. I didn't pass the bar exam. It's just that I really like that stuff. I find it fascinating. And it takes me a while. I would just have to double check, triple check to make sure that I understand what I'm reading and I'm conveying it correctly. But at some point, I will. It's just probably going to be a while. I've got my hands full with Schabusiness. Y'all, she's doing too dang much already in the courtroom. We're going to get to that. Let me say hi to you guys. So first, hey, Jane Doe. Hey, Lupe. Hey, Law Nerd Amber. Hey, The Collector. Hey, Music City Mom. Tess. Pointer Lover. K-Braze. Jessica True Crime. Auntie M. Allie. Hey, if you want me to send you the link, let me know, and I will. Let's see, Jane Doe. I said hi. Hi, Dee. Hi, Carol freaking Claus. Hello. Let's see. I don't want to miss any. Hey, Sammy Smith. I'm glad that you decided to put your toe in over here at the ward. It is a safe space, mostly. Like. Hey, Adrian. Good to see you. Hey, Corey. Gail. Good to see you. Hi, Lori. Amelia Sparkles. Yeah, it's been a minute. I haven't seen you in a while. How have you been, babe? I hope okay. Hey, Kentucky Lee. Hey, Deb. Hey, Malicious Intent. Hello, 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 little mystery. So good to see everyone. All right. Just let me know, Allie, and I'll message it to you. Now, let's get to the Schabusiness, as it were. Let me come over here to YouTube because Court TV did a fantastic short that's super duper quick and easy to understand. They did all the things that I would do if I would have made this into a short, but they did it, and I'm just going to let them. I'm just going to show you guys theirs because it was good. Now, what happened in court today was the medical examiner testified, and I don't know what I was thinking, to be quite honest with you, because I don't know why I thought that there weren't going to be at least 7 or 8 witnesses before the interrogation video. I forgot about that they had to search her apartment. I forgot about a lot of things, to be quite honest with you guys, and I'm sorry. So, hold on a minute. Oh, this needs to stop. I don't want to do it like this. This is not going to work for me. Hold on. Let me look in my library. Where's that? History? No, or history. History's better. Do you guys like how I have to talk my way through things? Yeah, it's one of those things. All right. So let me get over here to this. Hey, Easton Perfume. Yes, all of the hey Elizabeth, all of the, and Crime Curious, hey Thistle, hello. All I thought all of the witnesses were quite impressive. I found the um um medical examiner to be quite fascinating. Although I have to admit, I'm usually not like squeamish about things like that kind of stuff, like hearing it isn't, I can handle it, right? It's not my favorite thing to hear, but I do, it's not my, but I do find it interesting. I find autopsies fascinating because I find it fascinating what they can tell when they open up a human body. And the way that our bodies work, I find that endlessly fascinating. All of it, even our brains. So anyway, I found him to be quite affable. He was great with the jury, I thought. He explained things in a way that was very easy to understand, very easy to digest, and especially given the fact that what he was covering was just heinous. Y'all, she did some things that I did not know that she had done. I did not realize how bad it was. And hey, Seth, long time no see. Hey, Callie. Hey, Princess Megan Elsa. I'm glad that you woke up from your nap and you're showered and fresh as a daisy and in the chat to say hello. But I found, hey Natasha, I found her or found him to be just, really great at explaining the details, because I think that a lot of people think that she only used knives from the kitchen. She did use those knives. That's true. There were knives that were found in the kitchen, and she did use those, but she had other knives as well, and she used those too, bigger, more substantial knives. I don't know if I should, bigger might not be the right word, but they were more. And Allie, the knife that you were looking at the other day, I wanted to tell you this. So yes, it is. That is a. I don't think that is a bread knife, because a bread knife has a rounded end. The ones that come in the butcher block thing, um, and it's the serrated edge is like the gap in it is farther apart. I think it's that skinny knife that comes in the. Hey, thank you, Gail, so much. Um, I just did not realize just the depths of everything that she had done until that was so generous, Gail. Thank you so much. Um, I didn't realize all of the things that she had done. And it dawned on me today when I was live. And listen, anybody who was in that live stream today when the technical issues arose and stuck with it, y'all the real MVPs. Thank you so much for that. But it dawned on me just how much time she must have spent doing this. Like, I think the sex and all of that relative to what she did after the fact, I think that was not that long of a period of time. And I mean, I'm trying to, while I was, after they broke for lunch today, I've been going back through the testimony and I'm trying to really piece together the timeline in a more cohesive way. And I'll make a video about it because I think I think that's important. I mean, look, I'll tell you this, it didn't look, yeah, that was, bless your heart. You're gonna have to come and spend a week over here with me. I'll teach you how to cook. Um, but it was what she did. You know, there's, I think that pretty much everybody who's been watching the trial, right? Or even listening, hey, Carrie G, good to see you. And Salty C, a member for 7 months. Thank you. Well, Mal, come on, I'll teach you to cook. Hey, Sam. Um, yeah, little mystery. It was bad. It was bad. She's just anyway. But I think, anyways, I think that everybody who's been watching the trial pretty much is not um confused about the guilt or the in it. I don't like to use the word innocent because that's not whether she's not guilty or guilty, right? Um, so I don't think anybody's like on the fence with that. I think where the real question is going to come in at is in the second part of the trial, right? Assuming that she's found guilty. And that is her mental status. Well, this morning there was an argument back and forth between the state and the defense about admitting Taylor Schabusiness's drug use into evidence, and this was an issue in the pretrial hearings as well, because um, there's some real specific guidelines for a not guilty by reason of insanity defense. Okay. And the fact of the matter is, um, it is very difficult to get a jury to understand that, and frankly, that you took something willingly, right? And then you went into some sort of psychosis, and something that you knew is illicit, like meth, for example. Like you did that intentionally. Nobody slipped you a Mickey and you freaked out or whatever. Um, exactly, little mystery. It doesn't absolve them of crimes. And so I think we're going to hear that argument because I only listen to part of it because sometimes it's hard for me to listen to stuff too many times because then I kind of get bored with it. And I like to give my fresh reaction to you guys. But before we get that, let me show you some of let me show you what Schabusiness did in the court today. Hold on. I wish I could make this big. Why did it do this? All right, here we go. Hold on. I don't like the way it did y'all see that? This ridiculous woman. So yeah. Um and I mean the truth of the matter is that she does have you know s- some mental health issues and a very well established pattern of mental health issues. It's not me. It's court TV didn't want you to hear the sound. They intentionally lowered the volume of the audio in order to because the audio is not what matters. It's her motions. I don't have any I don't have any control over that. Nobody was saying anything to her. The medical examiner was testifying. Or was it the medical examiner? Or I'll have to look again. Hold on. Let me see if I can find the description. Hold on. Yeah, because the next video is super loud. Hold on, let me see if I can find the description. I never know how to work these dadgum shorts. Here we go. It says, "Did you see that defendant Taylor Schabusiness appears to make a gesture with her fingers in court towards the judge?" He was ruling on something, and she apparently did not agree with the ruling. But Court TV is the one that turned that audio way down because I don't think that was for them. It wasn't the point. They wanted people to focus on what she was doing. Okay. So I'm going to play this 10 shocking details revealed in Taylor Schabusiness's murder trial, day 2. I'm always curious because Law and Crime put this together, and I'm always curious what other people find to be about about testimony they heard, because it's sort of a glimpse. You know what I'm saying? Like, I consider we're all people who would be eligible to sit on a jury. Would I be picked? Probably not, just because I have a YouTube channel. I don't think so. Seth, let me look. No, nobody timed you out, Seth. Because I'm looking at the chat. Oh yes, we're going to talk about that too, Salty C. I know. The thing about I don't know if you've been on YouTube lately, but YouTube's chats have been glitching for the last week. I tried to answer Allie, and I know I'm not blocked or banned or timed out in her chat, and I couldn't get the chat to load. It's been super messed up. So, hey, coolest reviews. Yeah, nobody um nobody's gonna nobody would time you out. You know how we don't do that here at the ward. You know how it is. You got to really be doing something to get actually timed out. All right. You have to really be trolling, like for real, for real. All right, you ready? So let's hear what okay, Bryce, I'm a mod. The only person who could ban me would be Allie, and she was asking me a question. Hey, Team Psych Ward. Hey, how you doing, babe? All right, here we go. Let's hear what they think are the 10 shocking details from today. All right. I'm going to warn you guys now because obviously some of it is going to be testimony from the medical examiner, trigger warning, all the things, because, like, hello, it's a horrendous murder trial. All right, here we go.
There was a human head. There was genitalia in the bucket.
Let me stop you there. What do you mean genitalia?
What I would recognize as a penis and testicles.
Gruesome testimony pulls back the curtain in the trial of Wisconsin versus Taylor Schabusiness, the woman accused of murdering and dismembering her lover. From finding a decapitated head and penis in a bucket to catching the defendant with blood all over her hands, witnesses did not hold back any chilling details on day 2 of testimony.
Miss Schabusiness had blood on her hands when she was arrested. So
You got blood on your hands here, No, on your hands. Okay, yeah, we're gonna have to.
The skin, soft tissues, and muscle had been removed from the bone so that it was largely stripped down to the bone itself. One thing I particularly noticed was for a serrated bread knife.
She did, Dynamite.
The sharp pointed part of the knife were virtually ground down.
Oh, shit, it was a bread knife.
Dulled, if you will. Where we have complete decapitation. In other words, it's going completely through the neck, and the head is separate from the remainder of the body.
With day 2 came a closer look at the defendant's arrest. Jurors were shown never before seen body camera video of the incident.
Hi, Taylor. How's it going? Officer Russell with the Green Bay Police Department.
25-year-old Taylor Schabusiness was arrested on February 23rd,
Hello, in 5,
2022.
6, 7, 8.
Investigators in Green Bay, Wisconsin say she strangled her lover, 24-year-old Shad Therion, the day prior. After that, they say she dismembered his body and sexually assaulted his remains. Police were called in the early morning hours of February 23rd when Therion's mother discovered his severed head in a bucket in her basement.
You looked in the bucket, obviously.
I did.
Did you move the contents of the
No.
bucket? Okay. There were other items in the bucket later on that you found out about, correct?
There were.
Green Bay Police Department Detective Philip Scanlon returned to the stand for a second day, describing the chilling discovery of Therion's remains.
Yes.
other items were in
Team
the
Psych
bucket?
Board. Yes, she did.
There was remains, two different
His
specific
struggle is real.
types of remains that I observed.
What kind?
There was a human head. There was genitalia in the bucket.
Let me stop you there. What do you mean genitalia?
What I would recognize as a
They're
penis
all
and
the worst
testicles.
ones. Coolest reviews. I'm
Were
sorry.
they laying underneath the head?
They were visible after the head was removed, yes.
What else did you see?
I observed a black
You were, babe, right on
Miracle
that
3
bread
kitchen
knife.
blade knife that was removed. Kitchen knife. I observed a yellow
Thank you, Seth, so
pocket knife, I
much.
guess,
That's so
that's
generous.
description
I
of the,
appreciate that.
pocket knife with a yellow handle. There was head of a razor, like a shaving razor blade, nail, Jolly Rancher, and there was a flesh material that the doctor just described as a flesh material.
Blood in the bucket as well?
There was blood in the bucket, yes.
Prosecutors also called Deputy Medical Examiner Dr. Vincent Tranquita to the stand, who described the multiple locations where Therion's remains were recovered.
Doctor, I believe you mentioned essentially in the room the four main containers where human remains were located. Is that consistent with your recollection?
That is correct, within that room, yes.
So we've got the bucket, the blue bag on top of the dresser, the pink and gray bag on the floor, and then the tote. Are those the four locations where human remains were located in the room?
That is correct. As I go through a room and evaluate the room, I'm looking for evidence of a disturbance, a struggle, or an altercation. I'm looking for signs of biological material which may tell me where a body part may be located. I'm also looking for evidence that may have contributed to the death. In other words, instruments, objects, weapons, evidence of drug paraphernalia. In this case in particular, I'm also looking for places that a body may be concealed, or that might be evidence of movement of a body from one location to another.
Tranquita noted several pieces of Therion's dismembered body were missing from the basement.
I'm trying to recover as much of the individual as possible to try to ascertain that as much evidence as can be gained has been collected.
As you were going through the room, did you note that it was possible you did not have the entire body present in that room?
Yes, I did.
Did you note specifically what was missing?
On my inventory, I believe I was missing the right thigh, specifically from about the waist.
Okay, now I know that these details are incredibly hard to hear, you guys, but excuse me. These next things that he's about to say are incredibly important, and they're going to come out later, and we're going to talk about it. Okay, so just pay extra close. I know it's hard, but just pay extra close attention to this part.
To about the knee. I believe that I was missing as well I was also missing the left thigh and left leg.
Those missing body parts were
5,
later
6,
recovered
7,
in a
8. I'm
Chrysler
so
minivan
sorry.
registered to Scott Tomes, who was living with Schabusiness at the time of her arrest.
Who else is in the apartment? Be straight up. Tomes? Who else? Just Tomes? Is he armed?
Body camera video shows officers approach the minivan in the early morning hours of February 23rd. A crock pot box can be seen in the back seat, where some of Therion's remains would later be discovered.
But Joe, look how relatively clean that car is. I mean, as far as there's not blood everywhere.
Hey.
I believe we recovered the right femur or leg bone of the thigh of the decedent. We also recovered a portion of left thigh, and we also recovered a portion of left leg from about the level of
I
the
know.
knee to the ankle.
His poor mother. I can't imagine.
And doctor, was there anything noteworthy about the parts that you recovered from the van?
When they were recovered from the van, they were placed in a,
Hey,
believe,
Richie,
a
good
crock
to
pot
see you.
box. There was evidence of skeletal trauma, including sawing, chop injuries, start and stop injuries of the bone, consistent with
I
this.
don't know, little mystery.
Anything else about the amount of flesh that remained on those items that were recovered from the van?
Specifically, the right femur had been defleshed. In
Oh,
other
I'm
words,
glad I can
the
help you
skin,
be cheered
soft
up.
tissues, and muscle
This
had
part,
been removed
listen.
from the bone, so that it was largely stripped down to the bone itself.
Tranquita testified Therion's body was dismembered, with his head completely cut off and parts of his body unfleshed.
Where we have complete decapitation. In other words, it's going completely through the neck, and the head is separate from the remainder of the body. There were also a number of sharp force injuries above and below the level of decapitation, consistent with multiple cuts attempted as the person is trying to get through the neck. The back
Yes,
has been largely
THX.
flayed
Absolutely.
and defleshed. In other words, the skin of the back has been removed. Also, the muscles of the back have been removed so that we have exposed rib cage. And I believe that this is post-mortem mutilation because there is no hemorrhage associated with these injuries. In other words, I have multiple sharp force trauma with multiple stab wounds, multiple punctures, multiple incised wounds of the skin, deep cuts within the muscles and tendons and soft tissue, deep cuts within the bone. But all of these cuts are non-hemorrhagic. In other words, there's no blood or bleeding associated with it. These are consistent with post-mortem mutilation. In other words, there's no circulation going on.
Scanlon previously described his findings at the crime scene, testifying multiple knives were recovered, some that were severely ground down.
One of the knives in the Jimmy Choo bag, it appears to be a bread knife out of the kitchen block.
Let me
Were you
know
able
if
to
you
make
need
any
anything in
specific
5, 6,
observations
7,
about
8.
that knife?
I mean, the obvious observation
wait,
was
Becky
the red
P.
tissue.
It's
and
not
staining on the
inappropriate
handle
to ask.
and on the blade. One thing I particularly noticed was for a serrated bread knife that the sharp pointed part of the knife were virtually ground down, dulled, if you will.
So that is a knife that was serrated, is that correct?
Yes.
And what do you mean by ground down?
Being familiar with a bread knife, you know, it's a large serrated knife to cut bread, and it's the pointy ends are shallowed, more flattened, dulled.
But prior to any dismemberment, Tranquita says Therion was strangled to death.
This is a great deal of force. We're not talking about simply injuries to the superficial structures, for example, the skin. I have injuries to the very thick muscles on the sides of the neck. I have injuries to the soft tissues beneath this. I have injuries to all the soft tissues surrounding the neck, and I also have hemorrhage on the soft tissue on the anterior aspect of the cervical spine. This is hemorrhage deep through multiple layers of the neck, consistent with a great deal of force being applied and a great deal of injury. I had numerous petechial hemorrhages.
Okay, let's just take a minute for a second, okay? So, Callie, you do bring up an interesting point, but she wasn't covering up the crime. She was just doing it and left most of him there. Well, I'll say this. This is where the real interpretation of the law and it is gonna be interesting. I'm very, very interested to see what the defense mainly does with this, because one could say that putting things into totes and bags and then putting things on top of the totes is covering up. She cleaned the shower. When um, she didn't make the bed. There were not sheets on the bed. There was just like a comforter, and she put a comforter over the mattress and a pillow on top of two of the largest stains. So that is evidence of cleaning up. And in her interrogation and apparent confession, allegedly, she says that she forgot the head as if that was not intentional. She meant to take his head with her. So there is some indication of her attempting to, I know, I'm so sorry. We're not going to listen to any more of this part, but because this is too much. But the reason I wanted you guys to hear this is because this is going to come back later on. All right. But before that, let's have a little levity with this is Shad and Taylor's friend, and he hung out with the two of them. And we're going to hear from him because he's going to bring us a little levity. Okay, you guys, because we need it after this. She does, Mel Matt. She does have a child. She does. All right, y'all. Oh, crap. I clicked the wrong dadgum thing again. Sorry. Let me click share. My bad. Hey, Jenna. All right. Now we're ready. All right. But you make a great point, too. I'm just, I'm curious because, and listen, you know me, Callie, you're not new. You're familiar with my brand. I could make an argument for both if I really wanted to. I just, she's so, aside from the obvious, which is the crime, there's something about her that is just so very, very dark. All right, we're going to listen to this. I've got to let the dog out, so we're going to listen to him unfettered, uninterrupted. Here we go.
Can I speak right now?
Yes.
My name is Alexander Gannon.
Okay, the witness is yours, Mr. Saunders. So I introduced you as AJ. Is that a preferred nickname you go by?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but your proper name is Alexander.
Yes.
Okay. So is it okay if I call you AJ?
That's fine.
All right. So AJ, how old are you?
25.
Do you live in the Green Bay area?
Yes.
Did you grow up here as well?
Yes.
Did you go to high school and middle school here?
Yes.
AJ, do you know somebody by the name of Shad Therian?
Yes.
And how do you know Shad?
I've known him since middle school.
And what middle school did you go to school with him at?
I think I saw him before a couple times in like intermediate, but we mainly ran up at Bayview.
Okay. Bayview Middle School?
Yeah.
Okay. And throughout, schooling, and I guess now you're an adult, did you keep in touch with Shad?
Well, after about maybe it was the first year I moved into my apartment was when I started really connecting with a lot of people from that I ran into or I've talked with, and Chad was one of them.
Okay. So there's a reacquainting period, I guess?
Yes.
All right. AJ, do you also know somebody named Taylor Coronado or Schabusiness?
Yes.
And how do you know her?
Since middle school.
Similar to Shad?
Yes.
Did you remain kind of friendly with Taylor as well?
Yes.
Sorry, is that a yes?
Yes.
Sorry. So AJ, I want to ask you about February 21st of 2022. It was a Monday. Do you recall the date I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know when this happened, but I don't know.
Sure. So do you recall a day where you were I guess, hanging out with
Oh.
Shad and Taylor.
Okay, I didn't. You were saying like the date, but I didn't.
Sure.
I didn't have context. So.
Sure. So I want to ask you then, let's get this way. At some point, did you become aware that Shad had passed away?
It was only. It was only after when the day before I was heading out to vacation to see my parents.
Okay.
My dad specifically.
All right. And was that in February of 22?
No, it was like a week after. I think it was. So it was in February. No, I went. I had vacation in June, but I don't remember. I'm sorry. I have like a lot of like mental problems.
Sure.
So it's like hard to like keep a constant catalog of memories.
Sure. So are you referring to when you learned that Shad had passed?
All I knew was it was like a week. It was a week after, like something like that. I don't know for sure. All I knew was basically the day after, a couple days after, I was going to the Eastman apartment buildings because that's where I knew Taylor was at the time. And ironically, the same day that I went there, the police were knocking on my door specifically to try and get into reach for me with the situation. And the only thing that I knew at the time was basically they asked if I knew the whereabouts of Shad and Taylor. So like that's like the closest thing I can remember. It's just
Sure. And I know we're talking about something a long time ago, and dates may be a little fuzzy. Is that fair?
yeah. So sure you don't.
So that time you were talking about where law enforcement was asking you some questions, do you remember telling them about a time you were hanging out with Shad and Taylor?
Yes.
Okay.
Can
you tell us about that?
Yes. I was drinking a little bit belligerently, so it's the only time that I looked at like the clock was like before I left my apartment. So it was like after 10:30, 10 around that time frame. And like basically it was like I just decided to stop dissociating a lot, and I felt bad for not talking to a whole lot of friends that I used to talk to, like Taylor and Chad. So I just hit up Taylor randomly. I was like, hey, like, what's up? Are you going to hang out? And then basically I went over to the apartments, and when specifically when I got there, we were just chilling, chopping it up like how we always do. And basically I was like, Taylor was asking like, do you want to hang out with Shad? She was asking me like for consent to hang out with Shad, to bring him over, and I was like, yeah, that's fine, it's cool. Okay. And so
could I stop you right there? I'm sorry. I just have a quick question. So when you said you were at the apartment, which apartment is this?
The Eastman, the Meadowview East apartments.
Okay. Is that kind of where you thought Taylor was staying, or whose apartment was it?
It was it was the same apartments that I lived there. So it was like I'm sorry, what?
Sure. So the apartment is on Eastman that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I interrupted. You were with Taylor, and then she brought up hanging out with Shad?
Yeah.
Did you meet up with Shad that night?
Yes, I did.
And where were you sort of hanging out with Shad then?
We picked him up, went back to the apartments, and was just chopping it up.
Is that the same apartment you were just talking about?
Yes.
All right. And I want to date myself. Chopping it up, what does that mean?
Oh, it's just like kicking it, talking about whatever, just small talk or anything. Just kind of having conversation.
Is it a pretty good chill atmosphere?
Yeah, it was a good vibe.
No major issues or anything that stick out to you.
I never saw one thing that night.
Kind of Shad was acting normal.
Yes, he was.
Taylor was acting normal.
Yes.
And you said this was about 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night.
This was when I went to the apartment, like around that time frame.
And this is still the apartment on Eastman.
Yes.
Okay. And then at some point, do you leave that apartment?
I left. I did leave. I left. Probably like at least maybe like a couple hours, maybe until like 1, 2 in the morning. I don't know for sure. It's like I said, I only looked at the time before I left the apartment, and I was a little drunk. So.
Okay. But at some point, you left the apartment. Were Shad and Taylor still at the apartment when you left?
From what I saw, I don't know, but that's what, yes, from what I saw.
And then after that point, had you ever seen Shad again?
What?
After that point, after you left that apartment, had you ever seen Shad again?
No. Ironically, I hit him up the day after, or like a couple days, like of the first week into the situation, and I call him. I message him about a song that he posted on his Facebook, which was like some rap song that I like. No, yeah, I just like randomly sent him a message that day. I was like, yeah, that shit's dope. And then I was like feeling a little, when I don't have people talking to me a whole lot, I get a little anxious. And now I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm a little concerned immediately.
Okay.
But like I didn't realize until after my friend mentioned to me specifically about what happened.
And I'm sorry, I'm jumping around on you here. I want to go back to when it was you and Taylor, and
Yes.
you went to go pick up Shad. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. How did you pick up Shad?
Me?
How did you and Taylor go and pick him up?
Okay. Well, we took a minivan.
Who drove?
Taylor.
Do you know whose minivan that was?
No.
Okay. Was it a minivan that was at that apartment that you were at?
Yes.
And you went to Shad's house to pick him up?
Yes.
Thank you, AJ. I have nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. Freilich, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Gannon, good afternoon.
Okay, I'm unmuting and talking. Everybody lower your volume. Okay, so this AJ, when he said, he started to answer the question and then he said, wait, what was the question? That had to be my absolute favorite part. And the fact that she's laughing at him, like, I think for me, what it is I feel like we're all laughing, right? But I am now so seductive. We were all laughing at him, all right? And I actually think in that moment, it was an appropriate time for laughter, unlike the other 11 billion times she's laughed when it wasn't appropriate. But I also feel like there should be sort of, if she were at all remorseful, right? There should be, he laughed. It was funny what he's kind of funny, but then there should be a moment of, damn, because Shad's no longer living, and it's your fault, Taylor Schabusiness, to be clear. But you see what I'm saying? She has like zero remorse, none. Mo, that is a deep question, and I'm not actually sure what that reason is. All right, we're going to finish up because there's only like 8 minutes left. I have it turned up all the way. Let me put the closed captions on. Maybe that will help you guys so you don't have to have the volume so loud. All right, I'm going to be quiet now. Also, I'm going to speed up Mr. I think it's Freilich. I call him Mr. Defense Attorney Man. But yeah, that's just what I call him because his questions tend to be a little pedantic. So here we go.
You.
Oh no, I know, Mo. It's a deep
Taylor and
question though.
Shad
I don't
since
know
middle school?
why.
Yes.
And you went to school at Bayview Middle School? Yes.
Yes.
And then did you go to high school together as well?
A little bit until the freshman year.
Okay. Did you go?
I went to 3 different high schools in my freshman year.
Okay.
So it's bouncing a lot.
That's okay. Did you go to high school with Taylor Schabusiness
Yes.
at Bayport?
There's that weird audio
And-
thing again. I'm not saying it's demons, y'all,
kinda
but
knew her pretty
it's
well, correct?
demons.
Yes. Enough to associate with her.
You were friends with her?
Yeah, to associate and be friends with, yes.
And was it your understanding that at least in high school, Shad Therian and Taylor Schabusiness kind of were boyfriend and girlfriend? They dated a little bit?
Yes. I don't know how the connection between them, but it seemed like at the time after the breakup with Corey, it seems like that's like the only person that she always chill with sometimes. That's like whenever I see Shad more times over, especially when he's like chilling, I see Taylor or a couple other friends in that circle in there.
Okay.
They're pretty cool people.
Sure. Did you sometimes go over to Shad Therian's mother's house, Tara Pakinich on Stony Brook Lane?
Yeah, the year that I moved out, I visited a couple times, at least a handful of times.
Okay. Would you go over there to maybe eat or play video games and watch TV?
We wouldn't do a whole lot, but I just came. Typically, I was like the runt that would just be chilling with the whole pack, basically, of dogs that we're chilling with. You know what I'm saying? So
You just kind of hang out with the group?
yeah, just hanging out with the group.
Okay. All right.
So.
Okay. Would you sometimes go over to Shad's father's house, Michael Therian's house?
Yes.
Okay. And was it such that Shad Therian, he lived with his father, Michael Therian?
At the time that I heard of, yes.
So you had been to Shad's father's house and Shad's mother's house, correct?
Yes.
And fair to say that you'd been over to the apartment on Eastman Avenue where Taylor Schabusiness was living, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And sir, you'd go over to that residence to kind of chill or hang out, listen to music, watch TV, whatever, correct?
Yeah.
You had Taylor's phone number?
I had her Facebook.
Okay. And as far as Shad Therian, you had his phone number or Facebook information?
Yeah, I had his Facebook at the time too.
Fair to say that all three of you, yourself, Mr. Gannon, Taylor Schabusiness, and Shad Therian, you all had each other's contact information, correct?
Yes, but after a rough patch with a friend, I was chilling. I just started dissociating, and I do that a lot for the past 10, 20 years. I feel like people don't. If there's
Okay. This took me a minute to get. All right, you guys. But brace yourselves. What the defense attorney is doing here is attempting to humanize Taylor to the jury through this witness, right? Because by asking about when they all met, how they were friends since, middle school, what he's trying to do is to, like I said, humanize her in front of the jury, to remind the jurors particularly, right, that she wasn't always this person that they see right now, and that she did have friends, which on some level she must have had something that drew people to her in order to hang out with her, right? That is what he's trying to do. It's not going to be effective, to be quite honest with you, because it's too late now. I mean, at the end of the day, the jury has seen those photographs. They've seen the diagrams. You cannot unring that bell. I don't care if Santa Claus himself comes up and testifies for Taylor Schabusiness. It ain't gonna do no good. All right, here we go. Let's finish him up, and then there's something else I want to show you guys before I head out for the night. All right, here we go.
Sort of discrepancy. They just like cut you off. It's like block you or whatever. And then that's the reason why the day before that situation with the murder, I hate Taylor because I just wanted to associate again.
Okay.
So,
Now, Taylor Schabusiness has a father. Do you know her dad?
yes,
Okay. His name is Arturo Coronado. Is that correct?
yes,
Had you been over to Arturo Coronado's house?
yes.
And was that with Taylor?
It was not the. This was like maybe like a year or like so before I visited. There's been very few times since I personally talked to Art. So
But had you been over to Art's house with Taylor in the past?
yes, I have.
So you kind of knew Taylor pretty well, fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And you knew Shad very well, correct?
Yeah.
Was it such that there were times when maybe you'd be hanging out with Taylor and Shad where they would be using marijuana together?
Prior
Yes.
acts aren't relevant.
Wait. No.
Stop.
Your Honor, I'll withdraw.
Thank you.
Questions withdrawn. Okay, ask another question, Mr. Freilich.
Did you see Taylor Schabusiness on February 23rd of 2022?
February 23rd.
Yes.
No,
How about the day before on February 22nd of 2022?
no.
You saw her on February 21st of 2022, correct? That was a Monday?
I don't know what day that was.
Okay.
That's just a little bit too out of my polymath. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. But you did all hang out together and you drove over to Michael Therian's house. Is that your testimony?
Michael Therian.
Yes.
I think like all I remember. I don't know.
Okay.
So
You're not good with dates, correct?
I'm better with dates, just not like recently up for like the past 5, 10
Okay,
years. So
that's fine. So when prior to you being told that Shad Therian was deceased, the days before you were told that, you were hanging out with Shad and Taylor, correct?
yes.
And
Thank
did
you,
notice
Sammy.
anything
It's
odd
good
about
to see
Taylor
you,
as far as
babe.
her mannerisms, her eyes, her speech, anything like that?
No.
Did you have any feelings that she was acting weird when you had contact with her? Bizarre?
No.
I mean,
Had
for
there
the
been
last
occasions
5
where
or
you've seen
10
her and
years,
you
bruh, you're
felt that she was
25
acting
years
very
old.
odd or
Like,
unusual?
Judge relevance.
Mr. Freilich?
I think it goes to his observations of my client, Your Honor.
Well, then you need to narrow down for a time frame for him. So I'm going to sustain the objection. Ask another question, Mr. Freilich.
Okay, sure. In the, Mr. Gannon,
Yeah.
in the week before you had
oh,
contact with the police
Elizabeth,
where you
I'm
talked
sorry. I
to
hope you
the
feel better,
officer,
babe.
had you you saw Taylor Schabusiness at that period of time? Is that fair?
Yes.
Well, Seth,
And
I
did
think
you-
she
when you
throwed the
saw
hell
her,
off. That's what I
Was it just
think.
one time or was it several times?
It was only one time.
Okay. and that
I
one
think
time
she
when you
also
saw
gets
her,
annoyed with
did
her
you
attorney, if
observe
I'm
her to be
being
acting
honest.
In any kind of bizarre manner?
No.
I think bizarre and normal are relative terms, Mr. Freilich, Mr. Defense Attorney man.
Okay, nothing further. Thank you. very
Yeah,
much.
Can you
okay,
redirect?
nothing further. Thank you.
Sir, you can-
All right. So the dehumanizing her isn't really for this portion of the trial. It is really for the next portion because I do not think that Taylor Schabusiness has a snowball's chance in hell of being acquitted of this crime. Now, I will say this. I've been wrong before, and chances are, I mean, I understand how odds work. I'll be wrong again. I just don't think that it's going to be this time, unless the defense has some kind of miracle up their sleeve. What has, yeah, the deal. I just don't think so. All right, hold on. There's one thing that I want to find for you guys. Give me just 1 minute. All right. So this is the next thing I want you to watch. So the next person, well, the person that we're going to hear from, she is employed with the Green Bay police, right? And she did some of the extractions on the phones, her phone specifically. Oh, thank you, Seth. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And hold on a minute. I want to see if they're going to play if this is going to go all the way through it to the arguments. No. All right. So let me not this one. This is not the video I want. So what happened is when she did the extraction, I'll just pull up the damn trial from today. When she did the extraction, there were searches, okay, and pictures. One of the pictures was the I'm sure you guys have seen it. This meme has been out forever. It's the Jeff Boyardee. It's basically Jeffrey Dahmer, the way that, you know, in place of Chef Boyardee's face on the can of raviolis. That's what it is. And it, oh, when, what else was there? She searched for, hold on a minute. She searched for Dahmer too. And I want you guys to hear this part because it's important because of the medical examiner stuff that you got, that you had to hear, that I forced you guys to listen to, because this is important. These searches and the subsequent ruling by the judge is also very, very important. And in my opinion, I think that the judge ruled correctly. All right, so I want us to get there. Crap. All right, hold on. Hold on. All right, hold on. Now I'm ready. Sorry about that, you guys. I had to find the exact point. And they didn't just, usually they make it into like a section, but this is important and very interesting. So are y'all ready? Here we go. Oh, there's no closed captions. Okay.
That's adjusted in the program.
Okay. And the program that you use was Celebrate?
Correct.
After you, well, when you get the data, then do you put it on a separate zip drive or something, or what? How do you do that?
It goes on a shared drive that all detectives can access.
Okay. On the Fred computer?
No, that is, these are not performed on the Fred computer.
Okay. So how would Detective Liberta then access this information?
So the original extraction is saved on a Synology that only I have access to in my office. And then that's where the original dump goes in the extraction. And then that UFDR file that I create from that Celebrate Physical Analyzer software, then I can send that to a shared drive that all detectives have access to. So that would be where Detective Liberta accessed the UFDR file.
Okay. And then this information, this data, is it stored at the police department?
It is, yes.
Where is it stored?
Permanently stored on a Synology in my office.
Okay. And then if someone wants to look at it, they have to go through you?
Correct, unless they can access the UFDR file that was created and put on that shared drive.
Is there any way that information, that data that you extracted, could it be tampered with or lost or misplaced somehow?
Not the original extraction that I save in my office, but the UFDR file could be deleted if a detective wanted to delete it for some reason or move it to another folder on that drive. But they can't actually manipulate any data in the program, like switch a text message, date or time, something like that.
Did anything like that happen?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. And then you were talking about on these screen captures. Is it kind of like taking a screenshot of something where you want to capture like maybe
Things of that nature.
Did you notice anything of evidentiary value?
There was some search history
Here we
that I
go.
found interesting, like internet searches that I found interesting. Yes.
And what was that?
There was searches, things of like,
Yes,
Your Honor, I'm gonna
KPM.
object.
Oh, here we go. He's going to object.
Relevancy. I mean, searches on the phone, people search, research, look at all kinds of different things. I would argue that some of these things, I believe, could be inflammatory and more prejudicial than probative.
Overrule the objection. You can go ahead and answer the question.
things such as flaming pentagram, Jeffrey Dahmer, things like that. KKK, I believe, is one of them.
And Detective, did you note the dates and times of the respective searches that you believed were relevant?
It was around the time of the homicide.
In the days shortly before?
In the days shortly before, yes.
And do you recall when you reviewed that, did you prepare a report regarding your observations?
I did.
If you were able to review your report, might that refresh your recollection as to the specific searches and the dates and times of those searches?
It would.
Third, about an alleged incident on 2/22 or 2/23 of 2022. So I've got an issue with that. I'm also going to reserve a motion outside the presence of the jury.
Let's go ahead and hear that motion.
I think all she's been asked is to
Argue these pleas outside the presence of the jury. I think it's crucial.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's 20 minutes to 5. I think I'm going to excuse you for the afternoon.
Okay, bye.
30. Communicate with anyone about information about Twitter with you about this review. If the jury heard the evidence, okay, in any rules you should report. Okay. Mr. Frederick.
Thank you, Your Honor. I know that the state intends to offer 3 exhibits. I'll take the easy one first. One is a photograph of my client, Taylor Schabusiness, either laying on a bed or sitting. And then there's a phone next to her, and the phone has a picture of Jeffrey Dahmer on her phone. So they're together. We all know that Jeffrey Dahmer was the worst serial killer in Wisconsin history. There are a lot of negative memories and thoughts and commentary.
Connotations is what you're
People
trying
watch
to
that
say. Okay.
trial on TV with Attorney Boyle and Attorney Wendy Patrikas in Milwaukee County. The state is trying to link my client with Jeffrey Dahmer by offering these exhibits. Additionally, the other Celebrate exhibits that Mr. Lissay wishes to produce and proffer to the court as an exhibit.
She's just as fascinating. She's just as fascinating by Taylor Schabusiness as we all are, Seth.
Are, could I see those please again? They contain references to Satanic Bible, flaming pentagram, Satan, Jeff Boyardee, Jeffrey Dahmer, cadaver definition, Jeffrey Dahmer's butt, Jeffrey Dahmer walking in all sexy in court, rare Jeffrey Dahmer GIF, GIF, and things of that sort. And some of these items, search items, date from 2/19 of 2022, going back to
You heard
2/6 of
correctly,
2022.
Mo.
And I would argue that although 2019 of 2022 is fairly close in time to the alleged incident, the other ones are not. But I would argue that this information is highly prejudicial, and any probative value is substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice. I believe, and I would argue on behalf of my client, that if this information comes in, she's going to be painted in the worst light possible, with probably, maybe, the worst killer in human history. And I don't believe that is fair, but the court has to make that call. But I'm just making the arguments on her behalf. I don't think it's necessarily relevant. There's other information here that the state can rely on, but they do not need to go down this road. This is going to be a trial within a trial. It's going to create a sideshow. This is not the Jeffrey Dahmer case. It is not. This is different. The other Celebrite extraction report also contains various pictures of what is reported to be Jeffrey Dahmer. And it seems like there are 27 data files here. Some of them my client. They're little thumbnail pictures here. But if the jury sees this, I have a concern that they're going to immediately think that my client is in that category, just like him. I don't know, but I think it's unduly prejudicial. I think it's unfair, and I would ask that the court consider these arguments on her behalf, that this information not come in. I don't believe it's necessarily relevant. People do searches on the internet all the time. People do dumb things. They search for weird things. They search for odd things, but I don't see how this is even relevant to what we're talking about in this particular case. And I'd argue that the court at least consider an oral motion from me for a mistrial, because the state is going into this issue of Jeffrey Dahmer, going down this road to try and paint her in the worst light possible and create a sideshow. So I'd ask that you consider a motion for mistrial because this information has already come in. Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to stop you there, Mr. Defense Attorney Man. First of all, let me say this. The parts that should never be. Hang on just a second. My daughter is calling me. Hold on. Just give me one. All right, I'm sorry about that, you guys. All right, here's the deal. That ship has sailed, okay, painting your client in an undue light. But here's the other deal. All right. The fact of the matter is, and this is where it's important, and the judge ends up siding with the state here, although he does say that, like, the stuff about the pentagram, etc., that's not coming in. However, the stuff about Dahmer is coming in, and I'll tell you why it's coming in, because of the manner in which what she did after the fact. Okay, that's why it's coming in, because that flaying and all that other business is similar to what Dahmer did. And it's horrendous and it's horrific. And so it should come in, and it will come in. So when we start, but he's not allowing this, the Satanic Bible, the pentagram on fire. And I also want to say this. I did a series on, and I need to finish it, on Jeffrey Dahmer's victims. Okay. I must have Googled Jeffrey Dahmer 11 billion times if I Googled that fool's name once. Never, ever, ever in any of my Google searches has his butt come up as a suggested search, nor as has the way he walks into court being all sexy come up as a suggested search. So it is what it is. But I don't know Crime Sleuth, and I'll never get how he's at ease sitting there with all of those objects that can be turned into weapons. I couldn't do it. So anyway, that is what the judge ruled. Now, tomorrow, this witness will be on the stand again, and there will be some, it'll be heard outside of the presence of the jury about more defined as to what she can and cannot testify to. Okay. So that's what's going on. But my daughter called, and she never calls me for nothing, not at this time of night anyway. So something must be up and I need to talk to her. So I'm going to let you guys go. But I thank you all so very, very much for being here. Each and every one of you. I am so grateful for all of you. I really am. And I can't express that. There's just not words. And yes, Crazy Mama, you're right. We're all allowed to do whatever. Well, not, whatever, obviously. But, me searching Jeffrey Dahmer is meaningless unless I do something related, similar to the things that Jeffrey Dahmer did, like you did, Schabusiness. Okay. So I'm going to let you guys go for the night. And I will talk to you guys in the morning. We'll be back bright and early to stream the trial. All right. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.